This is an absolute game changer for Bitcoin, and OG cypherpunks probably aren't going to like it. Hey guys, it's Keith Allen. Hope you're having a good week. It's been a busy week, but I'm having a good week. Hope you are too. Lots and lots to talk about today. So we're going to go beyond our normal analysis, and we will climb into the charts, of course. But man, like some hot news coming out that I think is worth discussing, because I really think this changes the landscape of the market. The asset class is certainly evolving here. So, you know, if you got into Bitcoin for the tech, or because you're anti-establishment and anti-inflationary fiat, which many of us are, you may not be too happy with where things are going, because we've got this institutional adoption is really ramping up. We have corporations and governments that have all been orange-pilled by Michael Saylor, and this is no longer the underground asset that it was. And it also, Bitcoin specifically, not as volatile as it was historically. We are seeing a bit of volatility today, and I'm going to get into that. I think that what's happening here has something to do with the consolidation that we've been seeing, but it also has something to do with the downside volatility that we're seeing right in this very moment. As Bitcoin has just dipped below 102K, we're now at 101.5-ish, and I guess that's a good time to start by sharing the charts. Before we do so, if you haven't done so yet, do me a favor, smash some buttons, help me grow the channel, hit the like, hit the share, and make sure you hit the subscribe so you never miss a future BitBreak live stream. And of course, live chat is open. Love engaging with you guys. We got a lot to talk about today, so I hope you'll join me in the live stream and share your comments, your questions, and your insights. I always look forward to that. Hey, Alex, what a circus we live in. Oh, yes, we do. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Let's see. What with the 618, the 382? I don't know. We'll get into that. We'll look at the fibs as well. I like a good fib extension. So we'll look at those things as well. Let's start by looking at the candle chart here, and we'll get into fire charts, and we're going to get into this news that I think is really having a big impact on where things could go from here. I really do think that it will. So let's start on the Bitcoin daily chart. And I posted something this morning asking if potentially a new pattern is forming, and it looks like that just might be happening. Look, this could be a head and shoulders developing right before our eyes here as Bitcoin price dips. We found resistance at the 21-day moving average. Do we have support here at the 50-day moving average, which incidentally has some pretty good confluence with the 100K level? Or might things go even lower down towards the trend line, potentially even the 2025 open, which is pretty much the line in the sand here on the trend at this stage, in my opinion. So this does look like it is developing here, and I think I can hold my own with technical analysis, but I'm by no means the expert technician, so I don't know if technically we would call this a head and shoulders yet. At least not until this leg extends down a little bit more, and it seems to be doing that at the moment. I want to take a quick look at fire charts and see what liquidity looks like in this range to see if we have any backstops or plunge protection in place. Let's get a refresh on the screen here on fire charts and see what is happening here. Obviously, we're seeing a nice dip here. I believe that dips are made for buying, but I would also caution you from catching knives. This might be a situation where it's best to wait to see when whales begin buying again. As I showed you this morning, they were buying earlier today. We do have some support here at the 100K level, and more at 98K. About another 25 million worth at 98K. And if we scroll down a bit, we can see we have more plunge protection here above the 2025 yearly open. A halt here at 100K would be amazing. A retest at this support level down here at the yearly open, in my opinion, would be a gift. And if it holds, oh my gosh, that's really just a foundational move. It'd be better, quite honestly, if we didn't go all the way down to that open and we stayed above the trend line. I think that would be, you see where the 200-day moving average is right here, the purple one. Um, this would be rock solid in my opinion if that holds. So let's get into some of the news that I think is driving some of this. Right, we've been in this chop a little bit, uh, somewhat of an extended range with our all time high at 112K. I mean, really, we're in this situation where 112K down to the yearly open 93K. That's an expanded range in my opinion. And if you recall, it wasn't really all that long ago that we were in a wide expanded range like that. And um, recall when we were pinging up above the 2021 top at 69K, and we had a range of like 70, 74, 75K down to where was our dip to 50K. That was huge, right? We had some catalysts that sent these big wicks, but we did end up with a double bottom here, and things took off from there. So, in terms of the news, and I did share something on my X feed earlier today about a bit of news that JP Morgan. Now, we all remember Jamie Dimon, CEO of JP Morgan. Jamie Dimon has been not so keen on Bitcoin since the beginning of Bitcoin, right? He's been one of Bitcoin's biggest naysayers. He said it was like he likened it to a pet rock, but its only value was for money laundering and illicit, activity. Well, now JP Morgan, well, first of all, they're going to be allowing soon. I don't know what the date is or when they plan on starting that, but they did issue a statement that said that they will be allowing their customers to buy Bitcoin. And I know that Wells Fargo Investments is headed in the same direction. And I imagine the other legacy TradFi platforms are going to be doing the same thing if they haven't already done so. But this is where it gets interesting. And I posted this article, shared this. Actually, I shared a thread, and I think I shared another article earlier today about this issue where JP Morgan is going to allow their customers to use BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF, the IBIT ETF, as collateral for loans. And they will also calculate those Bitcoin ETF holdings as net worth. So let's just roll it back a little bit here. Jamie Dimon called Bitcoin a pet rock. It was worthless. Never wanted to touch it. Now he is authorizing the use of Bitcoin ETFs, which are virtual Bitcoin. If Bitcoin's a pet rock, an ETF is a virtual pet rock. So it's not even real Bitcoin. Okay. They're allowing them to collateralize an ETF as if they were going to collateralize any other stock, I guess, right? And so rather than allow them to do it with Bitcoin, they're saying they're going to do it with the ETF. Now, long term, this has a positive effect for Bitcoin because it means that there's going to be more people buying those ETFs, and those ETFs have to hold the physical Bitcoin to back those. Therefore, that is a supply and demand issue that should drive Bitcoin demand up. And I say it's going to drive it up among legacy TradFi. It's going to drive it up against big time institutional money that doesn't care if Bitcoin is trading at 112 or 100 or 93. They're in it for the long game. They're not here to trade. They're not day traders. They're not worried about the intraday, intra-week, intra-month volatility. They are long haul investors. And we've seen some profit taking up here in the hundreds, right? And guess who's on the buying side? Those institutions are on the buy side of this. And so this could really spell a new regime for Bitcoin, right? It might be the end of trading as we know it because there's going to be less and less to trade. And it might become something that is just held. And, Michael Saylor is the is the chief prescriber of that orange pill: buy, hold, and never sell. And if you could use it for collateral for life and never have to sell it, then you really got something, right? And so who doesn't want to do that? I'm in a situation personally where I'm in the market for a home and I don't want to sell my Bitcoin to buy that home. So collateralize and being able to collateralize makes a big, big difference because you don't have to sell your Bitcoin to do that. So I think it's a matter of time before this transitions from just Bitcoin to, just rather than just being for Bitcoin ETFs. I think that it will move to Bitcoin. Now, I know it already exists in DeFi with lending protocols for various assets, but I think that this is going to come to the mainstream, at least for Bitcoin. Whether that happens for any other altcoins, I don't know. But I would venture to say it's just a matter of time before it happens for specifically for Bitcoin. So again, we have price extending down to lows, new lows. Will we make a lower low? We've just, let's see, looks like we're headed towards a lower low right now. Obviously, on the short term, this would be lower low from here, but are we going to go down to here is the question. Let's go back to fire charts real quick and see if we're getting any buying volume coming in yet. At the moment, no, there's not. So I'm going to continue to watch this and see if this reverts at some point. But I think this is a really, really big deal because I don't know if well, first of all, I actually know some OG Bitcoiners who are out of the game. They, ever since we got into the talk of a US Bitcoin reserve, that was like the last straw. That doesn't mean that they don't have their Bitcoin anymore. It just means that maybe they're not trading like they were and not market making and just maybe sitting out. And I'm sure that's not the only one, because a lot of people who got into this early on did it on principle, did it for the tech, did it for as a political statement, as a hedge against fiat. And we need that hedge against fiat more than ever at this point, right? So that is something to keep in mind. Now, in terms of how we trade this asset, I really think moments like this, sure, they give us some volatility and there are some opportunities, but I really think that the volatility over time is going to stabilize a bit, especially as we have more institutional adoption and less people selling. So you have to ask yourself, when we get into these volatile periods, are you going to sell or are you going to dollar cost average to grow your position? And so in terms of why I think we're dipping right now, we obviously have had this uncertainty over tariffs. And I believe there was actually a phone call between Trump and Xi, the Chinese president, today to discuss the situation on tariffs in China. And the spin coming out of the White House was positive, of course, but did you ever expect anything else? Of course not. You didn't. And so how this ultimately lands remains to be seen. The market obviously not responding well to it at the moment, but why? Is it because we haven't really seen anything just yet? I'm looking at here's Bitcoin down 3%. I'm looking at the S&P down a half a percent. Dow Jones down NASDAQ down, everything's down, right? So why is everything down on news that allegedly is positive out of the White House? Well, maybe because there hasn't been much clarity, if any clarity to that. Another reason things might be heated right now could be this little bomb that Elon Musk just dropped, which is this is pretty juicy. I mean, talk about a bromance that ended like we knew the bromance was going to end eventually because the egos between the two guys were way too big. And but I had no idea it was going to escalate this fast. Elon just drops a bomb. Time to drop the really big bomb. Real Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That's the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT. DJT being Donald J. Trump. Is that a shocker to anybody? No, it's not a shocker to anybody. But this has got to have the orange man just furious, right? And you also know that they're probably scrubbing those files now to try and make that go away. That's going to be interesting deal. Do I think that's the reason that the market is down right now? I don't think so. I think this is just a speed bump in the road. We have some economic data out today. A bit of a mixed bag. Challenger job cuts cooler than expected. Initial jobless claims hotter than expected. Continuing jobless claims cooler than expected. Little mix. 4-week average slightly hotter. It's like it's there's not really much to this, in my opinion, at this point. I don't think anybody is surprised by this. We have non-farm payroll and unemployment rate coming out tomorrow. That data, more important, in my opinion. And I don't think there's going to be, I don't think the market would be surprised if we see a bigger number on unemployment, right? We've been expecting it for a year and it hasn't really materialized. So maybe that happens. And there's two ways to look at that data. The market might interpret it as if the unemployment rate goes up and non-farm payrolls are not looking good. If the unemployment rate goes up, then the market might think, oh, well, the Fed's going to cut sooner than later. And if the unemployment rate stays flat or bumps or ticks down, then they're going to say, oh, we got a strong economy. No, it's hard to forecast how the market's going to react to either of those scenarios. It seems like they can justify whatever they want at any given moment. But I would just say this now to build this story out a little bit more about the price action that we're seeing and this institutional demand. Another piece of news that entered the mix here recently was that the Trump family has raised or is in the process of raising $3 billion to buy Bitcoin. Now, do you think that they want to buy $3 billion worth at top of market prices? Or do you think that the orange man might say something or do something to push prices down a bit to accumulate at a better price point? And here we are with a lovely dip. So I think at the end of the day, the president and his family are heavily invested in Bitcoin, and they are investing $3 billion more than they already have. And ultimately, what do you think the goal is? And what do you think he's going to do? Ultimately, I think that he's willing to have some pain and he's willing to do things to trigger some downside volatility so that he and we who are following closely can capitalize on that. So I'm looking at these opportunities, or I'm looking at these dips as opportunities. And I'm not going to lie, it's hard. It is difficult to pick them, right? I mean, sure, it's easy to pick a target and go, okay, this looks like a good target here, and this looks like a good target range down here. But I don't know with any certainty, any more certainty than you do, whether price will stop here, whether price will stop here, whether price will go lower, or whether it's the end. What I do know is at this stage, the macro trend is still bullish and still very much intact. And with that in mind, I'm really positioning myself and my Bitcoin stack as a longer term investor than a trader in this market. And to add to my position, because it is difficult to eyeball them, I am using the MTF mean reversion indicator to identify dips that look buyable to me. Now, in full disclosure, I did not take these trades yet because I'm looking to see buying resume, but this tells me that these have a high probability of bouncing, just as the prior signal was. It got one a few days ago. Let's see where that one is. And so this is a good way to dollar cost average. This was at 103K, 103 and change. It's a good way to dollar cost average and just taking smaller positions. If you want to, you can alter or adjust your sensitivity on this and go with deeper deviations as high as you want. But obviously those higher ones don't get triggered very much. So I set up a grid of these. This is the MTF mean reversion indicator for material indicators, and it is fantastic at identifying uh, reversions from mean, also known as dips, with a high probability of bouncing. And so this one's going through a little bit of a drawdown right now. Totally normal. After all, it is a downtrend at the moment, short term. This is a 1 minute time frame. And so if I see support coming in, if I see buying resume, if I see more bid liquidity stacking above this level, or I see whales start to buy here, then I'll go ahead and take that position, and I will go ahead and fill it. The the downside to not taking that signal immediately is that I may not get as good of an entry by the time that starts happening. The upside is I'm mitigating some risk by not taking it just yet. So, in terms of risk management, and you guys who have followed me along for a while know that I'm really conservative when it comes to my portfolio, and I manage my risk pretty tightly. We're at a point. I think we're at an inflection point in the market, especially considering this news about collateralizing Bitcoin ETF holdings. I think we're at a point that, or at least the way I'm viewing it, is I'm looking for entries that are technical in nature that just look like good entries. Because if you wait too long, and this is a bit of a contradiction from what I just said, right? I'm looking for at least to see some buying. But if you wait too long, just at a macro level, if you wait too long, if you wait for certainty on tariffs, okay, and if you wait for certainty from the Fed on when for cuts to begin or QE to begin, then you're going to miss a lot of the move. And so, as someone who believes strongly that Bitcoin is going to eventually be a seven-figure asset, and now knowing that there's an opportunity to collateralize Bitcoin. Now, at the moment, the opportunity is to collateralize specifically BlackRock's IBIT ETF. But I think wholeheartedly, I don't know what you guys think, and if anybody has an opinion on this, by all means, please throw it in the chat and let's discuss it. I believe that it's just a matter of time before banks are offering the same opportunity to Bitcoin holders. And to me, one of the questions in the article that I shared earlier was, does using Bitcoin ETFs open the door for potential issues of rehypothecation, if I'm saying that right, which is essentially double dipping, right? collateralizing the loan for one thing and then using those assets for something else. Um, and in my opinion, if these instruments, if these loan instruments were built around Bitcoin on the blockchain, or potentially even an NFT, then you eliminate that possibility, because everything is immutable on the blockchain, and you see where it is, and it can't be used in two places if there's potentially a smart contract associated with it of some sort. So a lot of technology around that, but this is the financial future that we have been waiting for, right? This is exactly what we've been talking about. I don't think anybody knew how things were going to take shape all along the way, and I don't think anybody saw the collateralization of ETFs coming into the mix. Maybe that's Jamie Dimon's way of snubbing Bitcoin for now, and he's just going to do it for ETFs. But either way, it's going to require people, if people are going to build those ETF portfolios, build their ETF stacks so that they can borrow against that, then BlackRock is going to have to buy the Bitcoin and take it out of circulation to do that. And so ultimately, that's a supply demand issue, and that's going to drive price up. What did I want to look at? Oh, somebody asked about the fib extensions. So let's see what's happening here. 618-382, where are we going from here? Well, where are we drawing from? Let's go from, if we go from, let's draw this a couple different ways. We could do the fib on the prior top, which was where? 109-ish, down to the dip. So that would be that's possible. The 618 comes into focus there. 618 puts it at around 96K. So that's not out of the question. 382 is a bit out of range, in my opinion. Gets us down to the 87 levels. Now, what if we did from here to here? I'm backwards. Sorry. So 618, also a possibility in either direction, however you look at it. That those are legitimate targets. But I think the fact that we have close correlation between the 50-day moving average here at the 100K level, and close correlation between the 200-day moving average and the trend line, and close correlation between the 100-day moving average and the 2025 open. These targets remain solid for me. It's really 100K-ish trend line, which is currently sitting at around 96K, or that 2025 open at 93.5. Those are really the levels that I'm focused on here at this point. So hope that answers that question for you. Let's clear that out. Let's take another look at the order book and see if nothing new. Let me just get a quick refresh on this and see if we got any new liquidity coming into place here that might help us get a bounce. Certainly not seeing any buy volume here. Looks like just a tiny bit more bid liquidity coming in, but not a significant amount. So we'll keep watching this. And then down here we had 25 million before. We're still at 25 million. This is at just above 12 million. So yeah, just incremental money added here at this level. 100K used to be psychological. Now I think it has a little bit more technical merit to it because we have interacted with that level several times, but it just um, has not been a level that we've been able to really validate so far. And so I don't know, a week or 10 days, maybe 2 weeks ago, I was, well, I would say 3 weeks ago, I was looking for a retest at 100K, and as recently as I don't know a week or 10 days ago, I was wondering if we were going to get it, and now we're seeing that retest develop as we speak. So I don't know about you, but I view these as opportunities. I am have been rotating out of alts to free up cash for these opportunities, and I will. I did actually just take another Litecoin entry here today after closing one that was going well. It went to profit. I closed it before it went south, so that I could preserve that profit, or at least preserve some profit, and then recycle that money and compound. So, picking up another Litecoin entry today, and I will likely at this point probably recycle that money, cash it out, and either run that trade again until I see things stabilize, or just roll it into my next Bitcoin purchase, because I'm going all in on Bitcoin at this stage. I really think that is where the security is. Security in terms of safety, not in terms of asset definition. We already know it's not a security, right? But I think that's the safest asset. And while alts can make us some money, um, I don't see myself holding too many alts for very long. You may have a different view. If you do, I'd love to hear about it. Otherwise, I think we can all agree that Bitcoin remains king. And now that we have even more adoption from TradFi, um, the manner of this adoption, and specifically being able to collateralize um, Bitcoin related assets, specifically the IBIT ETF from Blackrock, is going to increase demand on Bitcoin. And we can see that despite the selling that was happening earlier in the week, we have seen an uptick in buying of those BlackRock Bitcoin ETFs since that announcement was made. So they probably told their people about it before it hit the mainstream news, and I'm willing to bet that we see more buying here of IBIT through the rest of the week and beyond. I'm going to wrap it right there, guys. I'll leave you with a parting shot here of the Bitcoin order book. You can see a nice pullback here, and a potential opportunity to get into some discounted Bitcoin here. Is 100K going to hold? Is 98K going to hold? Or are we going to go down and retest the yearly open? This all remains to be seen here, but looks like this head and shoulders pattern is developing here for us, and we could have an opportunity developing right before our eyes. Hope that gives you some insight that you can integrate into your trading decisions. And if you want more info on this stuff, I have two suggestions for you. One, join us in the Material Indicators trading community. Links to it are in the description, and you'll also find them on the Material Indicators profile page on X, on the X platform. And if you're interested in any of the tools I'm sharing with you, of course, you can find those links to the description. Links are in the description as well. Going to wrap it right there, guys. Have a great day. We have more economic data coming in the morning that could be a catalyst to send price moving again. But after days of chop, it's nice to see a little volatility, and maybe find some opportunities to pick up some cheap Bitcoin here today. Have a good one.